All right, it looks like it's recording. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents, the podcast. Today's special guest is Lance Holk. Uh, Lance, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in the hobby?
Hey Sam, how you doing? Good talking to you. Finally getting a little face-to-face time with you after years and years of back and forth trading, building. Uh,
Right.
I guess my exposure to the HO train family, if you will, started when I was about 8 years old. Got my first Burlington Northern because they were the big railway up here in Minnesota. That's where I'm from. I'm near the Twin Cities is where I live now, but I grew up in northern Minnesota. And you get your standard 6-piece train kit with a locomotive, a caboose, a tank car, a gondola, a box, and a flat. And
Right.
from there, my dad bought me a sheet of plywood, built my first layout, which was just a big oval with an inside spur. Uh, you know, like any kid, played with it heavily for a month or two, and then it became a dust collector. Uh,
Yeah.
there weren't a lot of hobby stores in our neck of the woods, so a 30-minute trip to the biggest city that had a hobby store. You pick up maybe a new car or a new locomotive once a year, maybe twice a year. Uh, the train table hung around there for probably 3-4 years until I started getting my early teens. At which time I had a neighbor kid, good friend, all through my life here. He was hitting that age group, so his mom bought my train set, and they made use
Oh,
of it. And
nice.
then, for all through college and into my 30s, I was away from the hobby. Got stationed in Florida for a 9-month stint with a roofing company. Um, in 2004, which really kind of, was boring when you're out of town, out of state, away from the family and kids. You're looking for something to do and cruising around
Right.
eBay, just wondering, hey, what's out there, and say, hey, we may buy another train set. Well, that unleashed a hoarding of train memorabilia for right up till today. I've got probably 700 HO scale train cars, locomotives, probably a
Wow.
mile of Bachmann Easy Track, none of which is set
Jeez.
up, but it's there. And then
For
once
when you
I did
retire.
have, yeah, I did have a small setup, and I wanted to build a diorama or somewhat. So then I found the Bole group of trucks and stuff, and then eventually caught wind of the River Point Station models, which is, as you know, I have a group for RPS modelers,
Yeah.
which I thought, a couple hundred of us, which is now at about 1,800 members, which is
Wow.
crazy for that little niche
That is
uh,
pretty good.
truck deal. And,
Good for
I
you.
know that you've built many over the years, as a matter of fact, a little Sam half-ass custom throwback to a little lowrider, and one that I got out of your private collection once upon a time, a little silver pickup truck. Uh, and I do a little bit of custom, nothing near what you do with yours, but you have a niche. You're kind of the lowrider deal.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I mean, as long as it's not stock, hey, I'm good for it.
yeah,
So even if you do like mild, or you just do, say, like your like service vehicles, construction vehicles, if you don't leave it stock and you put some kind of custom touch to it, hey man, you're doing custom work. So
yeah, and I've done a lot more with the Bole trucks than I have with the River Point, but I built a couple other uh, since I'm in construction, industry related trucks with ladder racks and such. But it's just something to do with the dabbling of the time. The kids are, I'm an empty nester now, not married, so it's me and the dogs, and I spend a lot of time. I also I'm one of the admins on the HO classified Facebook page, which has,
mhm.
I think, 7,000 members now.
Wow.
And we approve all posts just to filter out, because I get 5-6 posts a day that are somebody selling a wheelbarrow or something that
Right.
doesn't belong. But we approve about 75 new ads a day. So that's
That's pretty good.
that's in my spare time, lunchtime, it's fun. It sometimes can be overwhelming with everything else I got going on, but
Sure, you're telling me, man. I'm one of I'm one of two, and really just one of administrator for a group called Old Cadillacs. We've got 60,000 members, and we get over 120 requests a day. I can't look through every single one of those requests and make sure that you're a car lover or you got a Cadillac or whatever. That's
or not
exhausting.
just some spammer.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot on there. So I definitely ask all the members to be wary if you see it reported and not just delete it, because I can't be monitoring that group all day, every day.
Yep.
And then if a couple hours goes by, they're like, hey man, where's the moderators in this group? I'm like, hey man, I don't live on this group, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, we make no money from ads.
Right, exactly.
That's just the way it is. I've been through the same experience myself.
Yeah.
So
So
that's a little bit
that's
about me. That's a little bit about where I have been in the hobby. I haven't bought any actual trains for years because I have way too many in the first place.
right.
Looking to probably thin the herd, if anything. I should probably thin all my herds. I have an actual inventory system for my Bull A trucks. I have over 1,000. I have
Wow.
470 RPS trucks, and some of those
What?
will be about 50 accessory packs. But being the
Jeez.
moderator of that group, it's always like I have one of every RPS ever made. In fact, a couple of limited editions that were Plymouth Cudas that they made and played around with, which we see now. I think Rico put them out. There was like a 5 or 6 of them
Really?
that were convertibles, and so anything RPS. I have not really gotten into the N scale since it came out.
Right. Well, I mean, it just came out, so I'm sure you'll get there.
Winter project is I'm building a huge display rack, which I can get every RPS that's out to date into. And then
Wow.
when the others come out, we'll have to build more. But I
Yeah.
grew up in a lumber yard, so I woodworking is fun. It's just
Right.
how big do I have to build this thing? So
That's a lot of trucks. And even though the trucks are small, once you have that many, they don't become small no more. It becomes just a big, huge horde of
yeah, I
cars
have
on a table.
probably 300 or 400 of them are still in cartons, or I have them in tubs. I have about 8 tubs of RPS trucks. I think I have 10 Bolay boxes, so it
That's
takes up a lot
crazy
of space. But
that you have that many just in the RPS trucks, because I have probably that many in everything I've ever built in the scale total
all right,
is 400 maybe.
yep,
So that's
well,
crazy that you have that many
I'm
in
not much of a
collection.
collector. I'm more of a hoarder.
You know what though? I mean, that's not bad because they're not going to be out forever. I mean, every single company ends up, you know, getting smaller in their quantities that they push out and then eventually goes away.
Right.
So eventually at some point, uh, those things are going to be gold,
Yeah,
you know?
and they were for when I came into them, which was probably I don't know 8 years ago. They weren't producing any. They hadn't produced any for a couple of years. They just had the extended cab
Hmm.
truck had come out, with the bigger card, and yeah, you're paying $50 to $100 a piece on eBay.
Yeah, that's
Now
crazy.
they're in the mid 20s up. If custom builds get in the 30s and up from there, but just
Yeah,
buying
I
the
just I just hit up Lance, not Lance, Nelson, Nelson
oh
somebody who sells them as well. And
Vlade, yeah, he's a
yeah, and
mess.
he's awesome. I mean, I say awesome in the sense that everything he sells RPS wise, he doesn't look like he's trying to steal money from anybody. It's like
No,
he sells it at wholesale or something to everybody, and I
I've
think that's
gotten
really cool.
I've probably gotten 150 of my 400 some from they're double A hobbies, and I think is it Massachusetts or Maine or somewhere out on the East Coast. But he works full time at a Ford dealership,
Oh
and
wow.
then part time weekends and stuff. And And I have to tell people quite often in the group to settle down. Nelson will get back to you. This is not his job.
Right,
But
right.
he does. And, you know, and the guy's always, you know, 22, 23, 24 bucks at max first pricing, $1 to ship it. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
it's
it's
pretty
literally
tough.
like a wholesale type pricing almost.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool
Always been
because, like you said,
reasonable.
you can find them on eBay for $30 a truck, or you can or more, and then you're thinking, if I just knew the right connections to get it at a cheaper price, and he's one of the best for that reason.
Yep. He is. And he's very honest about it. And he gets back to you. You just got to be patient, you know. So,
Yeah,
you got
I've been saying this for since that first truck, that truck I built for you, since that first one. I've been hoping, and it hasn't come out yet, but I've been hoping that somebody would design like a 3D print version of a lifted suspension, all built, all ready to go, minus the wheels.
right.
That you just take the stock suspension out of that RPS truck and you put the new one in, and
Right.
it's done. So they'll all look the same, but I mean, the way you paint them, the way you whatever is up to you, and then the
Right.
wheels you choose is up to you. But I would love somebody to do that because, as of right now, I'm using the Bush monster truck kit to lift up
Right. Yep.
those. And as much as they look cool, they could look much better if somebody just printed up a whole entire one piece unit done.
Yep. Yeah. And hopefully somebody will catch on to that. You know, there's guys out there looking on Shapeways for things to design that are unique because, you know, everybody's got, you know, making trailers for these things,
Yeah,
whether it's Olay or whatever. Um, and all the small accessories, chainsaws and all the
right,
hand
right.
all that stuff. So, and I've got, I mean, well, that's one of the things that people reach out to me for is accessories because I have literally one of those 40 bin parts things where I've got
Everything.
100 mirrors. People lose mirrors. In fact, the
Yeah,
silver
they do.
truck mirror, I just set it down and the mirror fell off it, you know. And what happens is, you know, I swear to God, I've got a half a dozen of them in my carpet upstairs that I cannot find. When
Oh yeah.
they fall in the carpet, they're gone. So
Yeah, it was
that and
that's
headlights and taillights and
that's who that 3 hour podcast was with, Johnny McIntosh.
Macintosh.
And
Yeah, he's up there
we
in
were
Michigan.
just, yeah, we were just talking about how like photo etch parts you can get for it. You know, if you have a photo etch mirror that's like a little mirror this big with a handle just to go into, if you lose that on your carpet, you're never finding it
All right. Yep.
ever. So yeah, it's the crazy part of this hobby that we're in, that
I
we
think what
chose a
happened.
scale so small with the parts being even smaller
Well,
than
yeah,
the
and I
vehicle.
can't even imagine the unskilled guys because as I get older,
Oh
my eyes are weak, and I can't
yeah.
even focus in on the RPS trucks and get in real close because my eyes go blurry. But
Well, I
I
can
think
still
that's what
do that for now.
inspired me to collect all these parts. I mean, I bought I forget who it was, one of the guys that we model with. He was backing out of RPS, doing a little bit more custom work, and you know, he listed something on one of the sites, and I mean, it was like 50 mirrors and 25 headlights and this and that, and then a whole bunch of accessories you can use on any of them. And
Wow.
that started for me because I lost a headlight out of one of my very first RPS trucks in the carpet. Couldn't find it. And was like, oh, I'm gonna have to buy a whole other truck. But that's I
Right.
get a lot of people reaching out for that. So
Well, that's cool because I honestly,
yeah,
I knew
so
you were heavy.
that's
Yeah, I knew you were heavy in the RPS, group and cars. I didn't know you were this heavy into it. So I don't have any RPS trucks to build at the moment, but if I end up doing so and I lose something, I know who to contact now. Because I would just go reach out to the whole group, not knowing
yeah,
who had it. So now I know.
right. And that's one thing that this group has always been. I mean, as it's grown, I expected a lot more drama. I've had a few incidents, but relatively, I think it's because it's more in the modelers than it is the buyers.
Yeah,
And
right.
people seem to be pretty, I'll work during the day and somebody will post a question during the day. By the time I get home, there's 25 people that have reached out and, offered help,
Yeah.
without being smart Alex or,
Well,
that
that's like
thing. So
my
that's
hot
always
rod.
great. So I'm pretty proud of the group. So.
Yeah, well, that's like my hot rod and movie car group. I kind of expected there would be drama, but I the only drama, and it's not even drama, it's just the person doesn't know the scales right. Like, because if you were into Hot Wheels cars, half of the
Mhm.
Hot Wheels are labeled like HO scale, slot car or Hot Wheels, and it's not. It's full size Hot Wheel
Right.
cars, even though it's got HO on the front, so people can be confused on that when they enter a group that says HO 187 scale, and then you just got to school them on, what it actually is compared to what they think it is. But yeah, that's the only kind of drama I've ever had on my groups.
Yep. I had a longtime member leave because somebody got on him about, that, and this is the internet thing. Oh, your prices are way too high. It's just like, what, if you don't like it, move on.
Right, just keep scrolling. Why do you have to nag to somebody about it?
Everybody thinks they're an expert because they have a keyboard in front of them. So,
That's
well,
that's the
you deal
internet
with
age.
those. You deal with those.
Yeah. So I asked several people this in the past, and I'll ask you. Is modern era more your genre or your era of cars, or do you like older stuff more, and the RPS trucks are just where you landed, or is
Yeah,
modern
I
pretty
think
much?
it's because you know, it just caught me. The Bolays and the RPS kind of share the the same generation, if you will.
Yeah,
They're not
right.
even really modern at this point because I think they're what 2005 to 2009 kind of time frame. But
That's still kind of relevant though in the same time frame for the most part. You'll still see
it's
hundreds of them on the
relatively
road.
modern as far as yeah. So I just never really got into the steam age of the modeling or the HOs, and even through like up into the 60s where you have the old wood cattle cars. Yeah, do I have some in the 700 that I have? Sure, I've got. I bought a box of stuff one time. I ended up with a box of just steam age locomotive, the uh, the engineer's compartment.
Oh, the
So
cabs.
different cabs for all these things, and I don't even have any of them. But it's like I
You
just
can,
wait for someday when somebody says I'm looking for this cab, and I just take the whole box and ship it to them here. So
right. Yeah, I just saw, I think on Facebook's marketplace, somebody, I want to say maybe local, maybe not, was selling a whole, probably 300 locomotives, modern and steam engines, and their steam engines were all took apart and all in pieces, but they had like a whole bunch of crap just to make a Frankenstein, like 100 Frankenstein steam engines out of. And I thought,
something that a guy from HAK might do, huh? Make
maybe,
Frankenstein.
maybe. And they wanted like, I think they wanted 1,600 for the whole lot, and they wouldn't break it up. But I thought, imagine the person that buys that, and then what would they do with all of that? It's like junk to most people because, for one, they don't have the skills to build it, and they don't know where every part goes. They just want to buy it already ready to go, and then that market to buy all those parts would have to be so small, and I don't think they'll ever
Yeah.
sell that stuff. But
Yeah,
it would be neat.
you'd spend a lifetime. You'd spend a lifetime, divvying it up and selling it to the
Right?
proper people, the people that want it. So
Yeah,
that would
I
be
don't think
more.
it'd be worth it. Yeah,
Well, it would be if you maybe took it to a flea market, or a train show,
maybe.
because people can put
But
their hands on it and say,
yeah, but that's just like in the vehicles. If you were to have 400 vehicles all torn apart and every single piece to go with them, but they weren't in baggies to go with each car. They're just scattered, and you just put them in a pile and you said, here you go. I want, $500 for all this stuff. I don't know that a lot of people would go for a big lot like that because that's a lot of building. And if they were all the unpainted versions of it, then that's a lot of painting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that
That's
a
a
lot
lot.
of people would go for it. But, you know, I'm not in the buying and selling of parts, so I don't know.
No. I don't do too much of it. I just have it for basically for got people in the group that are looking for something, you know. So
Yeah.
and it's all relatively manageable. I mean, it sits in one part bin. So
Right, right.
yep.
Yeah, I have several bins like that full of parts, but then I also have just boxes with baggies full of parts,
Mhm.
just parts and parts and parts. And then like you use like the RPS truck, for example. I I won't use a quarter of the stuff that maybe comes with that vehicle. Like I won't use maybe the rims. I won't use the tires, and maybe I don't use the mirrors for whatever reason. Like I know, I think Brian Donato has it maybe. I built a like a salt flats racer extended
Mhm.
cab dually, and I had all the decals on it. I didn't put any mirrors on it because that would create wind
Right.
resistance. So, but it's
Right.
just like I don't use some of the parts that would come on it, and I think, what am I going to do with this crap now? It's just I'm not going to use it for anything else unless I lose the parts on another vehicle, and I don't
Right.
build enough of these to really, you know, need to keep using it over and over again. So they just sit and do nothing.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Since I was the moderator of the group, that I would probably become the point man for that for parts for them. So I literally, I
Right,
think this last winter I had at one point people take the pickup boxes off and build service boxes or
right, right.
whatever with them, and
Yeah.
I probably had 60 of these boxes. I think I bought a whole bunch from Brian for pennies, you
Wow.
know, and a couple other people, and then I posted to a couple boxes online. I think I got rid of 40 out of the 60 because I mean
That's pretty
I
good
don't
though.
produce a lot of them myself, but because I buy now the service unit with the box already on it and then build from
Right,
there.
right. That's pretty good. I only have interest in like the dualies. The dualies to me, like the dually beds. Like it could be any cab, a single cab extended, quad, whatever. But I love that dually look. Like you can put, you know, four sets of tires on the rear, or you can slam it and it just looks
Yeah.
badass, or you can lift it and it looks badass. I think the standard, whatever they call the standard bed, that's not a dually bed. If you make that thing too long, and then you have like a quad cab, then it just looks like a big Twinkie rolling down the road because it doesn't have any width to it.
Yeah,
And
I got a guy at work that's got a quad cab pickup truck with the 8 foot bed on it. It's just
oh my
like,
gosh,
Lord, how do you turn this thing?
yeah, it's like a limo.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
in a dually version, I feel like it makes it have that even stock. It just looks better, in my opinion. I and
it's more substantial. I'm the same way.
yeah,
I tend to slide towards the dually beds, and I have a few of them, in my bed collection, and I don't
yeah,
let them go too easy. The other ones, I got so many, it's just like, here, buy one get two free.
yeah,
But
right, yeah, exactly. That's how I do with the lights. Like the Bush or Bosch, however you say it, they make a police siren light bar
okay,
set. So you get like a 80s style bubblegum light, bubblegum jar light bar, uh, and then you get like the arrowed light bar for the more
right.
modern look, and then it comes with a bunch of lights. But I only need the light, the 80s light bar out of that whole kit. Well, and the spotlights for the Ghostbusters cars. So the rest of all that crap that I don't need ends up all getting put in a bag, and I sell it for like nothing because I don't need it, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't get my money back from it. But I mean, it's so funny how much you collect over time by just needing a few parts out of the amount of parts that the whole kit or whatever you get comes with. Like the monster truck kit, I only use the suspension. I don't use anything else that kit comes with. I don't even use the frame that you mount the suspension to, because half of that kit is useless to me. I just
Right.
need the suspension for that.
Yeah.
I don't even need the wheels. The
Yeah.
wheels are useless to me too.
Right. That's where having somebody that could 3D print it would be nice. A good look.
Yes,
So
right. Design it and then 3D print them
just get what
to
you
me.
want, not everything else. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're good for what they are, though. Like they have great detailed, like three post shock mounts or shocks to that axle. Great big, huge, like military looking axles on the bottom, and they're very good for what they are. But I mean, that's all I need it for. So
and finishing up your question, yeah, I would say my stuff's all pretty much mostly modern. I would say 95% of it is. So
well, that's cool. I mean, honestly, even though I'm more of a classic car hot rod custom builder, that's the look. Like the style of hot rods I build, the style of customs is for today's look. So it's meant to be in the modern world, just like you built it a couple years ago and now you drive it to a show or, like I don't need it to be a period correct 50s style build
right.
because I'm not building a 50s era, you know, diorama or something. Like even my first diorama, which was the little I think Pinewood, Pinewood, Pine Valley, Pineville, um, Sam's Garage or something is like a one bay garage with like 1920s gas pumps on the front, and it's like a little store and a garage and little gas pumps. Well, I built that to look like an abandoned gas station that was left in the desert that hot rodders took it over today.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's an old period looking building, it's meant to be modern for
Right.
today's use.
Yep.
And that's like all my builds. I build it to look like today. So I'm more of a modern builder, even though I build
Right.
classics.
Yep.
So that's cool. Like, do you ever, I guess when you get some time, you planning on building a layout, like an actual train layout or?
Yeah, I actually I bought a software layout, a train layout system, and I've got knee walls in the basement, which are a foot wide, and they run along the whole wall, energy wall, and I've got because I'm single, I got that whole part of the basement there where you've got a downtown area here, and then it follows like it's going through the mountains, up on that railing, and in the corner it's got like a mountain pass where you get a tunnel through there, and then it goes over here, and there's a bay window there where I had, and this is all layout, it's never been built obviously, but it's a seafront, like where you
Oh,
would have
cool.
an oil ship that would come in, load them into standing tanks, and then you bring your tank cars in. Because I have this huge collection of the 62-foot oil tankers. The ones with the triple trucks on them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're Tyco brand.
Yeah, I had one of
They're
those.
Gulf. I have 50 of those. I just
Oh,
pick them
man.
up whenever I see them going for less than $8 on eBay. I pick them
Yeah.
up. I pick them up at train shows, stuff like that. Just something you just you're not going to do anything with them for years and years. But I've been building a collection of them so that I could have in my layout. One of the modules, if you will, would be a tank loading station. So
That's neat. I've always seen those. I've even had one when I was a kid and I had like an uh 8x4 piece of plywood that we made a train layout on.
yeah,
I had one of those and I've never seen one in real life, so I never knew that, this was a real thing. Although I don't know why it wouldn't have been a real thing. I just never seen one in real life. And still today, never even looked it up online, never even saw a video, never seen it with
yeah,
my own eyes. But I've always seen it in a train scale,
right,
just
right.
never seen it in real life. I imagine that thing's got to be, it's bigger than a lot of train cars, I guess normal train cars
Right.
of the
Yeah.
80s and before.
Right.
So that thing's got to be huge in real life.
Yeah. Most of your 60s and 70s train cars were 60 to 70 feet at max.
Right.
lot of the box cars are 40 and 50 footers.
Yeah, yeah. Which I
Lumber
think
cars,
most of us had when we were kids.
yeah, we all had the box car, the cattle
Yeah.
car, the small tanker, the 40-foot tanker.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just something they're kind of neat with the triple truck on them and heavy duty. So I
Yeah.
just
No, it
one of
is
those
neat.
things I kind of like to just collected a bunch of them. And now I'm gonna try and figure out how to incorporate them into a future layout. So
Yeah. That'll be neat. Yeah, I know. Everywhere I've lived so far, coming from California to coming to North Carolina, most, I'd say 3,000 square foot and smaller houses don't have basements.
okay,
I mean, in California, like no places really had basements unless it was a Victorian style home that might have been, 1900s or something.
sure,
But from 1940s or 30s and up, houses in California didn't have basements. You didn't need them.
yeah,
And then North Carolina, unless you got something bigger than 3,000 square foot, there's not a basement either. So, yeah, I've never had a basement in any of my houses to kind of do anything with. But the current house we have where I do all my podcasting, it's just a spare room that I've turned into my hobby and collecting room.
sure.
But I don't have a TV in there, so I don't even build in there. I do all my building in my bedroom where my big old 65-inch TV is.
Yeah, I moved a desk upstairs because when I was had my desk, and I still do have a desk down there, but the TV's behind me, so you're
Right.
more than us listening to TV and not watching it,
Yeah.
and
You need to get like a mirror on the wall so you can
yeah.
see it behind you.
Well, now with the flat screens, I mean, I've got flat screens in every room in the house, so it's you know,
Yeah.
and every Christmas I buy myself a new one, a little bit bigger one, and rotate TVs all over the house. So
That's what you do.
yeah,
I mean, if
exactly.
it's still working, there's no sense in getting rid of it
Yeah,
unless you've run out of room to put them in.
right. Yeah. Well, for a single guy, I'm getting there.
Right. Well, that's cool. That's cool that at least you have future plans to do something like that. I've been into trains my whole life, but I was into cars more. I think cars were something attainable. A
Mhm.
train I would never own.
Right.
So a car I really could own.
Yeah.
And to get the kind of cars I wanted without having the money to do like a full size restoration build or a custom build, the next best thing is model cars.
Right. Yep.
That's something you can do compared to, spending 100,000 on a real car. You can spend $100 on a model car and have
Yeah.
what you want.
And they're much more easily stored than a real car too.
Yeah, just like behind me is a big
Yeah.
display case full of cars.
Yeah.
Oops, where did I
Uh,
go? Nope.
well, I got the the Halfass Customs logo now.
Yeah, let me get back to this. I touched the wrong button.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
my one thing that took me away from modeling for a few years is on the wall behind me here. As you can see, I
yeah,
race dirt track.
okay. Yeah, I saw
Open
the
wheel.
pictures on your photo gallery on your Facebook page.
Yeah, this is the skin off from modified, a race gas engines modified from I think 2010. But all my race cars have had a blue and orange combination. My last one had an orange with blue, so I've always been in that. Just put
And
a new motor in my Denali this last week and painted it all up orange and blue. So I have a Denali under the hood. It looks like a race car motor because it's all painted up.
nice.
But
Yeah,
more importantly nowadays, I just want something that's going to run.
I've never really been into racing cars. Like I don't care for NASCAR, and I don't really care for stock car, and I don't really care for race cars at all. The most I get into a little bit is maybe drag racing, but I don't really get into drag racing neither.
Yeah,
I just
that's
like the fact that it can go like 250 miles an hour within 2 seconds.
it's actually 330 miles an hour in 3 seconds.
Okay, I'm
Over
100
our
miles off.
lifetime, over our lifetime, things have gone crazy in that deal. I raced a dirt track, local dirt track, and and it's all tube and frame, nothing fancy. It
Well,
was
so I
fun.
say I never got into it because I've never been behind the wheel. But I know if I grew up with having that kind of in the background of my family, oh, I'd totally be into it. Because I
Yeah,
have the
and
adrenaline, I have the urge.
nobody in my family has any interest in racing.
Oh,
None.
wow.
Just a couple friends I was hanging out with, they were racing, and I caught the bug, so I bought a car. And
Yeah.
I did a little three-wheeler racing back in the '80s, but went to
Yeah.
college and kind of fell away from it. So
Well, I think like, and I don't really watch it. I'll watch movies on it. But my favorite race, I think, is probably like Le Mans. I
yeah,
love Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Maseratis and all the other brands, Porsches and stuff, Corvettes, doing like 200 miles an hour, 24 hours in a
yeah.
race. I just love
And
that.
I'm the opposite. I never really got into it, and
Well, I'm not
that,
into it either, but that's the only kind of racing. Like the oval track, like NASCAR, I don't really care for it. It seems
yeah.
boring to me because you're only turning one way. And you're turning it the whole entire time because even the straightaway, you're apexing into that straightaway to get out of that straightaway. You're not really going straight.
They call
So,
it rounding out the straightaway.
yeah,
So
I never got into it. It didn't appeal to me. But if you could do a road racing track that you're turning left and right on, and you're hugging those apexes, doing like 90 into the corner and maybe 120 coming out of it. Oh my God. I did.
yeah.
I won't lie. I did go to Vegas and I did exotic road racing. Exotic something along those lines where I rented a Ferrari for 5 laps and I had a Ferrari 458, I think, and the fastest I got it up to was 140. That's only because of how small the course was that we went in. But in that 3 laps, you pretty much learn when to brake, when to accelerate into the corner, out of the corner. And I'll tell you what, man, the fastest lap I did, I was doing, I think, 70 into the corner and about 100 on the way out of the corner.
Yeah.
Man, in a Ferrari, woo!
Yeah.
Oh, loved it.
Well, I tell you, it's about the thrill. No matter
Oh,
what you do,
yes.
whether it's racing, whether it's something else, you know, think about it on a dirt track. I threw my modified into a corner, 90 miles an hour into a corner on
Oh,
dirt. Uh,
damn.
it's more clay than it is dirt, so you do
Right.
get a pretty good hookup, and your car is set up for it. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's that thrill. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the straightaway is just setting up the corners because everything
It
happens in
really
the
is.
corner. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
And you know what's crazy? Like, so not particular in your type of dirt track car, but I've seen like Junior Berg did a whole entire dirt track um, diorama,
Mhm.
and I think he did more. Is it called stock cars? Stock car bodies, like
A
80s.
stock car would be just basically like a Monte Carlo,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you really don't change the body.
Right. Just
Those are
like,
stock cars, and the
yeah.
open wheel like I have is a modified where there's no fender around the front wheels.
Oh
And,
no, that was. I think there was a guy named, that wasn't Junior that did it. Junior did the 1920s or maybe the 30s and 40s stock car dirt tracks. A guy named Kelly. Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly passed away a couple years ago. He did, I think, a stock car like like a
oh
yeah, but I don't think he did the whole over. I
no,
think he
he
just
didn't.
did
I think he
maybe a
just did the
section.
straightaway at the grandstand. I think if
Yeah,
I remember
and I
seeing it years ago.
Yeah, and then he also did a NASCAR one where he only did the grandstand uh,
Right.
straightaway scene. But either way, I mean, the whole idea of modeling something that is so huge, like NASCAR, stock car,
I
racing in
have
general.
the greatest respect for guys that sit down and do a diorama
Yeah,
because there ain't any excitement in planting stripped grass and rotted old tree but man, the amount of detail that some of these guys, my hat's off
right.
to the talent that's out there.
Well, William Radcliffe, he
Yeah.
did basically just a pie of a bake shot of an IndyCar track, but he did so much. He put the struts, the bracing behind it. He did like a full 360 completely detailed, 100%. Little tiny. I mean, the diorama is like this big.
Yeah.
It's super tiny,
Yeah.
but there's so much going on in that one little diorama.
You're talking about a guy who's a legend in the modeling.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he had his
yeah.
own line of truck parts, and I probably have $500 worth of parts of his stuff in a
Oh
box.
dang.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't give them away, but I
Right.
mean, he stopped making them years ago, and kind of
Yeah.
just holding on to them because I want to build a few things, but I know there's guys out there that would pay unbelievable
They
money,
will. Yeah.
And I got
They
them
definitely
from
will.
a guy who was getting out of the industry, and I bought a whole bunch of stuff from him. So, yeah,
Nice.
my hat's off. He's a hell of a talent. So,
Yeah, and he's really kind of, I don't want to say he's a leader, but he's definitely a huge inspiration and a huge influence. Um, and why I say maybe not a leader, because there's not a whole lot of people doing like what he's doing to begin with.
well,
So
it's a niche. It's a
yeah,
niche because because everybody has their own angle or take on it. It's not like everybody's building the same thing. And he
right.
could be an industry leader if you have 10,000 people doing it.
Yeah, true.
Everybody's got their angle. But I'm buying this from you, and I'm using it here where you would use it for something else.
Right, exactly. And yeah, but he's definitely a master modeler. I mean, he's building that HO scale bridge. I forget what the bridge is. That thing's like 14 feet long, and it's all in actual HO
I
scale.
actually bid on one on eBay that was an old, the old stone arch.
Yeah.
What do you call those? The old water systems they used to use. That's what it looks like. And it was 13 feet long.
Oh my gosh.
And I was going to drive to, I think it was in New York. From me, that's 1,500 miles to pick it
Wow.
up. And at the last moment, somebody outbid me. And I guess it probably was a blessing because I really didn't want to
Yeah.
drive that far. But it was beautiful. I mean, it was absolutely just
I mean,
gorgeous.
something that big and I guess maybe that detailed to be that beautiful. I couldn't imagine it was anywhere in a price range I could even think of. It had to have been like
I think it went for
ridiculous.
$2,800, and that was a steal. I mean, for
Wow,
something.
I was expecting like a lot more, like a
Nah,
lot.
I just don't think that our market bears that.
Well, I just think because of how big it is, but yeah, probably not. Maybe then because it's so big, who would be able to do anything with it?
Right.
But I don't know.
I just like it. I mean, because I know the amount of hours they had to put it. Because they did all the masonry themselves. They stamped the little
Wow.
painted. It was just gorgeous.
Well, I know I saw pictures online. I think you pronounce it the Faluga or Falu. I don't know, that European 187 scale meet that they do.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
big one. Anyways, um, there was a guy that built like I don't even know what kind of bridge it is, but it doesn't have any trestles. It just has big, huge beams in it. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not a bridge guy. That thing looked like it was 20 foot long, and it was made into several modules that were probably 5 feet in length, and they
Right.
tied it all together, and it just. And then they even went ahead and I think put the motorized I don't know, track underneath the bed or the road bed so vehicles can roll across it and not crash into the
the
walls.
magnetic or whatever they.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I saw a video where a truck, like a European truck, was driving along the top of it. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's some.
Have you ever seen the diorama somewhere over there in Europe? It's an airport.
Oh yeah. It's one. I mean, we in America call it Wonderland, but I think it's called Wunderland in
Wunderland. Yep.
yeah, Wunder.
I sat and watched a video because it's like 5 parts of the video. I think I sat one day and watched that for like 3 hours. I'm
Yeah,
just like, and the
it's
little
a
emergency vehicles will drive up and their lights are flashing.
yeah.
And,
I think they said it's the most expensive small airport in the world. I think they've spent $4 million on just the airport,
geez,
something like that.
that's
And
great.
yeah, but that whole entire it's a big, huge warehouse that I think they have 2 floors of, and they've got like every major country in the world in that one huge train layout.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I was in Europe. I was in Germany, where that is, but I was in the south part of Germany, and to go up to that part was like a 12-hour car ride. I was
Hmm.
like, I just can't see it. I would love to go see that, but I just
Right.
can't make that 12-hour trip
Yeah.
when we're way down this far south. But I don't know, maybe in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Germany is on the bucket list for me. My daughter
Oh,
was in the Air Force and she spent 20 months there
wow.
at Ramstein. So,
I spent 1 week there
yeah.
and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought if anything, I say this as a joke because I hope nothing ever does, but if anything were to ever happen to this country where you needed to move out of it, I mean, Canada would probably be the closest and easiest to, get by with
No.
because, I mean, everything is pretty much the same here, living wise. But I would love to move to Germany. I
Oh, yeah.
just would. It's so beautiful out there. And you move
No,
to a tiny little town,
we
which
can
would even be
carpool because
better.
I'm going, that'd be where I would go to. So,
Yeah, me and my wife, right on the edge of France and Germany, there's a little town called Colmar, and it looks like where they had shot every single Disney movie in
yeah.
Disney cartoon movie in this little town. And I mean, it's not, but it looks like it would be. We fell in love with that town. I'd move there in a
A
heartbeat.
lot of castles and stuff.
Um, there. So in France, we did a whole castle like
Tour.
tour where we
Yep.
could see like 5 castles in one day, and we did. It was a long day, but we did it. But in France, or I'm sorry, in Germany, we kind of just went to different little towns to see certain famous things that weren't castle related, like churches and whatnot.
Right.
But I mean, they have just as many castles out there. We just didn't do the castle tour in Germany. But yeah, it's beautiful. And the funny thing is, I know if I were to move out there, I'd still model U.S. vehicles. I wouldn't get
Yeah.
into the European stuff.
I can't
It
do it,
doesn't
dude.
do nothing for me.
I can't do it. I think a
But
lot of that is because either nobody has a line of modern European vehicles or the detail that they put into mo- the model itself is so fakey that,
yeah, toy like.
yeah, I mean,
Well, that's funny because I know, like even our, I think a lot of our favorite 3D printer designer, Mad About Cars, he's based out there in Europe somewhere, maybe Germany or something, and he has a whole lineup of all our American cars, like
right.
every single model and almost every year. So, I mean, that tells you one thing.
Yeah,
Even our European
I get
friends are doing
requests
American cars.
for in my RPS groups to send things Australia all the time. Got a couple
Yeah.
guys there. Got a guy in Iceland.
Wow.
I've sent things to Europe a couple times, mostly to Germany, but one guy in India. I
No
had a
kidding.
guy, yeah, he actually owns I think he owns a hobby store in India, and he bought a whole
Oh,
bunch of
good for
train
him.
stuff, and I threw an RPS truck in the box just
Yeah.
as a thanks and good luck and whatever, and he's like, "Can you get me more of these?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah."
that's cool. That's
So,
really cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I've said it in different podcasts, but my most famous and most requested build for me to do for customers is that Ghostbusters car, and I've sent that all over the world as well. Um, but I mean, I haven't built a, a ton of them. I've only built close to 20 total, but I mean, 8 or 17 of them have gone all over the world,
yeah.
different parts. But hopefully they like them. I haven't seen any posts from anybody saying, "Oh, I got my car. I'm so happy for it. Look at it on my layout. Look at it. It's so awesome."
Yeah.
Nobody ever says
Well,
that. Nobody ever posts
I
anything.
saw that last batch. He must have built probably what, a couple, 3, 4 months ago, maybe.
Yeah, I got them back 3, 4 months ago. I had built them a year ago, but it took East Coast Circuit like 6, 7 months to get to it and get it done. So yeah, and I built three, all three versions, which most people don't know about that third version, but the third version is from the video game and cartoon. Um, which is the same car just with different crap on top for the roof rack. And then I built the first movie car and the second movie car, which I'm not building those for any customers. Those are just for me. I've built all the cars I've built were the cartoon and video game car, because that's what Shapeway, Mad About Cars, I don't think had the license to create the roof rack versions of the actual movie cars, but somehow was able to get around having the cartoon and video game car. So I just built that one because I don't have to modify it in any way.
Right. Well, I will. I'll probably reach out to you at some point when you're ready to build them again, because I'd like to.
I mean, I build them whenever somebody
AK
wants them. Yeah. So
my half-ass collection that I have. So
no kidding. When I posted those 3, I've got like 10 people wanting them, and then only 2 people pulled the trigger to actually order them. So I have 2 sitting at East Coast Circuit now, and they say, I think within a month or within a week or 2, they should be done with them. So I'll have another 2 coming back to me.
Are they? You'll have another couple available for sale then?
Well, so I don't ever have them ready to go to sell. I only build them when I have a request for one.
Okay. So the 2 that you're getting, they're already sold, or?
They're halfway sold. I asked the customers to pay half up so I can actually buy everything, because that car is not cheap. That car with the finest, smoothest print from Shapeway is like $45 now.
Yeah.
It started off like $30, and now with every year they keep hiking prices up. Well, that's with the shipping. So it's probably $35 and then $10 to ship.
Sure.
And it shouldn't cost that much to ship it, but whatever.
Yeah. That's it in our industry. Sometimes you just gotta shut up and pay it.
Right. And I have to, because they're the only ones that offer that car in 3D. I mean, I don't have anything to make that car with. So I have to get it from them. But yeah, I build them when I get half the money down, because I had so many people say, "Oh yeah, I want one. I'll get you the money. Just hold on." I'm like, "Take your time. I'm in no rush. I'm going to still be here." And so, I'll hit them up and they're like, "Oh, I don't have the money yet." And just to make sure if they still want it and they didn't forget or whatever. And they're like, "Oh, just hold on. I'll let you know when I'm ready." And so it's not like I get a ton of people at once that actually pull the trigger. So it's what.
Well, I think off air here, I'll get a hold of you and get one on order.
Cool.
I don't have anything like that, but being it's something from that you build, I want one. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, when I posted on all the HO scale train groups I'm in, people go absolute nuts over that thing. I mean, they love it. It's probably, you look at John Howard putting all the lights in the RPS trucks and cop cars and whatnot, and then you look at East Coast Circuit's LED work, and they do great work, and people go nuts over their stuff. But when you get something that you've seen your whole life and grew up with having it, and it reminds you of your childhood or your youth or something, like a modern day cop car, it's not going to remind you of anything but present time, and maybe you're in that service, who knows, maybe you're in law enforcement, I don't know, and you want one to resemble your own vehicle that you have to drive every day. Cool, that's awesome. But you don't love that car. You just happen to be issued that car from the department or whatever, and now that's your vehicle for the meanwhile. But if you grew up watching something and loved it your whole life, and you see somebody made it in this scale for your train layout, oh, people go crazy.
I made an RPS truck because at the concrete company we have a single cab white F350 with a topper on it. Didn't take much, got decals made, gave it to a guy that was retiring, and he was like, "This is the nicest gift I've ever seen." And it's a toy, it's big,
Yeah, right.
Better than his gold watch or whatever he got from the boss. But
yeah, That's what's so cool about, and our cars are so small, they can be put anywhere. They can put on a dash, you can put it on a shelf, you can put it in a box and forget you even have it. You can put it anywhere. It's not like a full-size model car or even something bigger that's like a 1/18 scale or
Right.
something even bigger, you know? It's something small enough that you know what it is when you see it, and you get the same enjoyment out of it as something super big,
Yeah.
and it can fit anywhere.
He's big into I wouldn't say he's necessarily big into hunting, but he goes to the gun club and shoots a lot. He's and he's got a gun case with glass doors, and he has it
Hmm.
in his gun case.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, right. He's got
Safety.
boxes of like antique ammunitions, and then there's just a little pickup in there.
Nice.
So he sent me
Yeah.
a picture of it after he set it up. So
Yeah, that's cool. I know, I mean, I'll be honest, when I got that first Ghostbusters car and I had John Howard do all the LED work, that was my prized possession. And I mean, still today, it's one of the coolest things that I've ever built, ever came up with, because I mean, Shapeways had the design. Mad About Cars designed it, but nobody had built one from that design and from
hmm
him at any point and posted it. So if they did build it, they didn't post it that I could see.
right,
So when I built the first one and then I sent it out to him to get the lights, that was the first one with lights. No kidding. That Wonderland in Germany has an Ecto 1 with the Ghostbusters figures, but they don't have it lit up. It just sits. And
right,
you know what it is when you see it, but they don't have it lit up. So I'm pretty darn sure I'm the first to have a lit up HO scale
nice.
Ecto car. And
That's
that
cool.
that's been my prized possession and people love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, it's like it's the eye of the beholder thing, you
Yeah,
know.
it truly is because that's not the car for everybody. Some people want a modern day car to resemble, their dream car that they've had their whole life, or not, I wouldn't say modern, but like something they hold dear in
Right.
their heart and they want a replica of it, whether it
Yep,
lights up or not. That'll be their vehicle that they love forever.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess with that being said, what do you have in your heart that you love vehicle wise? Besides, I guess, those RPS trucks, but I don't know that you love
Are
them.
you,
Just,
are you talking model or you're talking about real life?
well, a real car that can be a model. I mean, I built my 63 station wagon off of Shapeway. I built a model of my 1 that I used to own because that was my most favorite classic car I've ever had. And I had to have it as a model since I don't have the real one, and I built it.
Right.
So
Well,
we might
mine,
be able to build yours depending on what it is in
mine,
model form.
mine isn't too outlandish, but ever since I was a young kid, my favorite car has always been the Smoking the Bandit car, not from the movie. In fact, I like the year model prior. So it'd be a
Oh, okay.
78 black Trans Am gold script, 6.6 liter. You had a couple different interiors, tan, red, and black. And one of the guys that worked with my dad when I was a kid had one. And I would ask him all the time run it over at lunchtime and I'll wash it during the day and then a nice clean
Yeah,
car, just so I can put
right.
my hands on the damn
Right,
car,
yeah.
you
Yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I've seen many. I've tried to push the button on a couple. To find one that is in good enough shape that you would take it apart, clean it up, fully paint it. Um, you know, you got to pay 50 grand for one. Um, I've
So
seen a
that
couple
is
of car shows. So,
that's kind of out of my wheelhouse as in classic cars of years, genres, and decades. I'm more like mid 60s and before. So is there a huge difference in the way the body style is of a 50 or a 79 and a 78, or are they for
it's
the most part?
basically the front clip. The
Oh, okay. The
the
nose.
79 has bars, so it has separate lights. Where the 78, the Smoking the Bandit car had a little bit of grill there. Where on the 79,
Oh,
it's all plastic. But the rest of the car, I think even down to maybe there might be a little variation in taillights, but the basic shape and size and everything is the same. There
okay.
is definitely a front clip difference.
Okay, because I was just watching, I never watched it, and I still didn't even watch it all the way through this time. I've only ever seen half of it, Smokey and the Bandit 2. And I think that came out 2 years later after the first
And
one.
I think that actually has the 79 in it, where the original Smoking the Bandit had the 78 car.
Oh, okay. I
I
did
have to
notice there was
recollect.
a difference in the vehicles. I
To
know it
the
wasn't the
front,
same exact vehicle as the first movie
it's
car.
basically the bumper headlights, and that's it. From the
Oh,
fender,
okay.
the hood's the same motor, same setup. Big 6.6 in there. So
Yeah. Well, at least do you have a model of it?
I have a
I mean,
couple.
maybe not that particular one, but I know that
I have I think what a Monogram made
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I think that was the
I'm trying to
company.
think
I
who
have
else.
that.
I think Bush
Cherry
has one too.
Cherry Bomb Monogram or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever Malibu, whatever that
I,
company
I'm
was. It
not
was all the same
impressed with the
company.
detail on it, so it's in a box somewhere put away. But
Yeah.
every
Well,
once in a while, I do a lot of I go to a lot of people's houses in the business that I do, sales that I do, home improvements, and I ran into one a couple years ago, and the guy was willing to sell it, and I said, I don't even want to know, and I
oh,
left. And when I pulled out of his driveway, when I drove down the road, he texted me 50 grand,
oh
just
wow.
just just to let me know where he was. So, but
Yeah.
that was you pay 50 grand, you don't even touch the car. You drive it, you
Not
park it in the
really.
garage,
Yeah.
and
Right. Maybe to a car show when
yeah,
there's
and
absolutely no
when you
cloud in
probably
the
wouldn't
sky.
drive it down the road because you want to get rock chips and all that in it.
Yeah.
But
Right. True.
I would want one that is that I could drive on the weekends or at nights or whatever.
Right.
I wouldn't want one that perfect. So
That's kind of been my thing too. Like I I love classic cars and I love restored ones and I love like jalopies or rat rods too. But I feel like if it's too nice, you're not gonna want to do anything with it because
yeah,
of that very reason. You don't want to scratch it. You don't want something bad to happen to it. But if you had a driver or a rat rod or a jalopy or something that very faded paint but still drove great, you would drive that as much as you could if possible, weather permitting, because you didn't have to worry about it too much. It
yeah,
could literally, you could park it in front of a supermarket and not have to worry about, oh, somebody's going to park too close and might scratch it because it's like, who
right,
cares?
yeah.
The paint's
Well, it's
already
like
faded anyways.
years ago, I had a customer that I went out to see, and he was a member of the Frankensteiners. Are you
Oh,
familiar with that group?
I've heard of that
They
group. I
basically
haven't.
they all basically have in real version all the rat rods that you build.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
a group of it's a
Right,
rat
because they
rod.
have a Frankenstein head
Yeah,
body on a like a old 30s, 40s
it's kind of, and they all have
frame.
vests like the Hell's Angels, the patches
Yeah,
and stuff. But
that's
they're
awesome.
you see them at like the Minnesota State Fair. You'll see a lot of guys there, and
Yeah, I've never
uh,
seen it with my own eyes, but I've seen it online everywhere.
well, this customer in particular, he was talking to me, and I was sitting there staring at it. And these Frankensteiner cars, they don't paint them; they're just
No,
rusty metal.
right.
And I'm looking at this thing, and it literally, I swear to God, was this far off the ground.
Yeah,
And you basically sat where your butt sat in the seat was probably about that far above the pavement.
yeah,
And he said, "You want to
right.
take it for a drive?" And I'm like, and I did. I just drove it down the street. Worst riding, worst
Oh, yeah,
performing.
they most definitely are.
No power steering,
Nope.
power steering by Armstrong, and it's like, well, now I could say. And he took my camera and he shot a video of me trying.
Yeah. So
And I
there's proof you were
go
in
back
it
in
and
the
driving
garage,
it.
and they said, I don't have. And then, of course, with my bad knees, I couldn't even get out of the damn. I'm basically roll out of it onto the floor and then get up. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I said,
rat rods are the most ridiculous looking, extreme looking, and most horrible driving versions of classic cars you can get. I mean, you can get a stock 1929 Ford that only went max 45 miles an hour, you know, and that drives better, like rides better than a rat rod of the same exact car.
yeah, yeah. It's like they build these rat rods. It's almost like a competition. How quickly can you weld it together? You
Yeah,
know,
and yeah, and
and
how
and the
extreme of
painting.
modifications of uncomfortableness can you make it?
Exactly. Gear shifters between your legs and
Oh
everything.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no, they look
every time I
cool.
think about that car and that visit to that guy, I think half-ass customs.
Yeah, they definitely look cool, but they're truly meant to be trailer queens, even though people drive them
Yeah.
instead of trailering
There's a
them.
guy in my small town that drives his around every day. I see him 3 times a week. And I
Yeah.
just smile because I'm like,
He's got to
I
be
wouldn't
young
even,
because anybody older over maybe 40, 45 couldn't
you
do it daily.
can't get it out of them. Can't.
Right, yeah. Their knees would
Uh,
be going, their back would be going
yeah,
just after
exactly.
the first week. I had a that's so funny about that driving uncomfortable. I had I don't know how to overlay photos on top of the video yet, but once I do, um, I mean, you guys could probably just go to my Facebook page and look under my photos of my real cars I've had. I think it's in there, but it was a chop top 53 Plymouth. So they shaved the whole body, put skirts on the rear wheel wells, chopped the top 5.5 inches, and put a Carson top on it. So that's like a one-piece convertible top. It doesn't
Mhm.
fold back. It
Right.
stays in.
Lift off like a Jeep.
Yeah, right. It chopped it 5.5 inches, heated the springs and collapsed them. So there's no suspension. It's just as low as it'll go with the springs in there, just with no suspension. And then he didn't lower the seats any. He kept the stock seats. So the seats are stock height with a chopped roof that's
Mhm.
5.5 inches lower than it normally would be. And then put a 10-inch
Wheel.
chain. It's not a chain steering wheel, but it's a handcuff steering wheel. They say you can drive it if you still have the handcuffs on.
Ah,
Um, um, with no power steering. So, no lie when I tell you this, the way you drove that car was your butt was at the very edge of the front of the seat, and your back, the back of the seat was right here, and you were sitting like this to
yeah.
drive it. And with no suspension,
Oh,
the
Jesus.
only suspension you had was the cushion in the seat.
Yeah.
Oh, that with no power steering,
Yep.
that thing was the worst car I've ever had to drive. I
Yeah.
only had it for like 8 months.
They
And
call that the scooch.
yeah,
Scooch down.
yeah. It looked hella cool though. It
Yeah.
was beyond awesome. Um, looking, it looked like a chop top Merc, like a full on lead sled. That's the way the guy wanted to make it. And I loved the way it looked, but I couldn't drive it. I was
Yeah.
26, 27 at the time, and I still couldn't drive it. But
Well,
yeah. But you know, when we build little model cars to get back to the hobby related part of this podcast, you don't have to worry about driving them. You can make them as extreme as you want
you know,
and never have to worry about getting into it.
exactly.
So, with your I guess you do like custom cars
Oh, yes.
in general. That's
Yep.
why you wanted some of my cars that I built.
Right.
Do you have like passions to like build any custom cars in your like model cars in your future, or is it?
As far as in the model form,
I
yeah.
mean, you don't, yeah, not have to be nowhere near as extreme as mine, but maybe, just lower it and put a paint job on it or something.
Yeah, I've played with that a little bit. I have a couple of RPS trucks that I have started to modify them, and you get to a point where that's so ridiculous. I don't want to do that part, but you know, that's the one thing I have. Maybe I'm a little too conservative. You hit a point where it's like, well, that's ridiculous. I'm not. That doesn't
Well,
make any
did
sense. So
did you see that RPS truck I did where I chopped the whole roof off and I
yeah,
opened up the bed to the cab so
yep,
it's a one piece walkthrough?
right, yep, yeah.
Yeah,
See, that would
nobody
have
would have
stopped me.
thought that could have worked.
I couldn't have gotten quite that far, but I've done a couple other things. I mean, I've taken and made that international EXT kind of thing where you have the full bullet. You use the bull A frame and then you put
Yeah, yeah.
a pickup box in the back. And they have two different versions. They have the 4700 version, and then they have the 4400 version, or the 7700 version, and the 47. So I've made a couple of each, sold a bunch of them.
I've been wanting to make one of those versions, do a full show truck version of it, obviously. But I went to last month, I went to a Cars and Coffee car show near my house, and somebody pulled up in that, and the bottom of the truck, so the bottom of the door, was probably shoulder high. So we had this huge tires, big old lift kit underneath it, and that truck's big already, just stock, it's huge. But to then lift it to where the bottom of the truck was at my shoulders, I'm 5'9". So, that wasn't a very low truck. It could have been higher, but it would have been just stupid to be that any higher than that.
Right.
But yeah, I've been wanting to do something like that. Get that Bush, monster truck kit again and lift up that truck and make a full show rod out of it.
I ran into one of those trucks in Minneapolis. I don't remember what it was going on, but they had made it into an 8-door.
Oh, geez.
And from the 4-door, they'd made it an 8-door.
Golly.
Biggest monstrosity. It was bigger than so.
Right. It's as long as a school bus or an RV.
Yep. Yeah, that was
That's
crazy.
wild. Yeah, I don't want to extend the cab on it. I just keep it a 4-door and then just lift it to the sky and put a chrome suspension underneath it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, Lance, so you have plans in the future to hopefully build a train layout. I guess it's going to be modernized for modern day for your modern vehicles. And you like to do custom cars. It's just mild custom, I guess.
Yeah. I
cool.
don't go extreme. I don't have the creative mind for that,
Most people don't. I mean, no kidding. Like, I would honestly say in our HO scale, 187 scale world of custom car builders, most people, it's going to be custom. So you do a repaint, you'll do maybe a wheel swap, maybe add mirrors if it didn't have mirrors. And that's custom because it didn't come that way. But most people don't have a huge, broad scope of full custom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even like Tom Hart, I will use him in his example. He had that wrecker truck that had like the 2 arms that swung out and I don't know what they do. I don't know what that, it's not my wheelhouse of vehicles, but it's a wrecker that can lift stuff off the ground or out of ditches or something from either side. That truck didn't come that way. He added all those custom little detail parts for the bed, and it looks like it all works, all real and whatnot. And it's a full custom.
Yeah.
It doesn't look custom, but it is from what you start off with to what you end with. It's weird to think that even when you don't do like a show vehicle like me or a rat rod or a full custom car or whatever, and I say custom with a K compared to custom with a C, because custom with a C would be like what Tom did. He customized that whole entire record to look real, like a certain background with a certain angle of camera shot. That thing would look like a real truck you would see today, like helping out some car in a ditch somewhere. And that's full custom, like a full custom. And I can't that like what you were saying, you don't have the mind behind making a full custom car. I don't have the mind to build that truck. I don't even understand how he did most of that stuff. Like it just doesn't even compute to me. But if I have to lower something or chop the top or rust it or whatever, that I understand. But yeah, there's so many barometers, is that the right word, of custom? It's weird. And I don't understand what they do. Like most of our hobby is commercial vehicles, commercial construction vehicles. That's what most people in our hobby collect or customize. And honestly, I don't understand why and how they decide to do what they do. Like what's their mind frame behind making a double trailer diesel truck with like all the fixings on the cab. Like I get it could look cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think they look cool in my opinion. They just look like a truck. But it is weird that somebody had the passion and the mind brainwave to figure out how to create what they wanted out of that diesel truck and make it look amazing. Just like your RPS trucks. I mean, what you're doing with the RPS trucks, even though it may seem mild, it's a mild custom. I mean, all those little details, all those RPS details you put in the back of a truck, the decals, the paint straps, whatever. I mean, it's not mild anymore. A mild would just have been like a wheel swap and maybe a paint job. But you're putting all these little details, even if it's not a ton of details, you're still putting a lot more than what that car came with, you know? And it looks better than it did when it was stock.
Yeah, it's just putting a little flavor to it. So
yeah, I mean, I don't have, I guess I could if I needed to, but I just don't have the desire to add all that detail to an RPS truck. Like I was just talking to, really talking to, I was talking to, I'm in a model car club on Instagram. We're worldwide, but either way, I said, you know, you look at a mild custom car, repaint, wheel swap, maybe you lower it. And a lot of people look at that and say, oh, it's done. You don't need to do nothing else to it. But my brain sees something that mild and says, oh, there can be so much more done to this car. Some wild extreme paint jobs, some crazy looking bright interior, some wild wheels, some outlandish huge engine. You know, I see all the possibilities of what can still be done. And even like a stock RPS truck, and if you were just to add, like I did this with I took some semi truck wheels. I think there may be like 80s style semi truck wheels with like the triangle cutouts in the rim. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And then I put some really skinny low profile Hot Wheel, like 1/64th Hot Wheel tires, and I put the rim inside and it fit perfect. And then I tucked those underneath an RPS truck. And I said, that is something I don't think anybody would have ever even thought of doing. Taking a semi truck, a 1/87 scale semi truck rim, put it in a Hot Wheel scale tire, and then tucking that underneath the truck and slamming it. And it makes such a huge difference. And I see like the wildness of a build instead of the calm, tame version of what it is.
Was that a white truck?
No, this was a black one. It has a red wall, like a white wall would be. It has a red wall. It's if I could overlay video or photos on this video, it's like my car hauler truck. So I have the black and red, maybe it's just all black, trailer to match the truck, because the RPS truck's black and the trailer's black, and I have like the car sitting on top of the trailer. But yeah, I couldn't find, apparently I only had one set of those rims because I have no idea what those rims came off of, and I can't seem to find any other ones that fit those tires, because I have plenty of the tires because I was collecting Hot Wheels before I got into this scale. So I have plenty of the tires. I just can't find those rims, and I don't even know what those rims are.
Yeah, I do that. I find that every once in a while. It's like, where did these come from?
Yeah. And the neat thing is, like, the rear wheels, they got that deep dish made for the double tired in the back. And those worked perfectly for the Hot Wheels tires because they were already thick anyways. So it's like a one-piece tire with that big deep dish cone of a rim that the diesel trucks would have come with. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking to Ryan Kelly, the crane guy, that young guy that does cranes, and we were talking about, like, you know, getting out of your wheelhouse and trying to do something crazy and different and weird. And he said, you should build a crane. And I was like, man, I couldn't even see myself doing a crane. Like, you do a crane, you're going to build it the way the crane's supposed to look. You're not going to just go make a Transformer style crane, but that's where my brain would see. I would say, what can I do to this that will look completely different and probably destroy any repetition or I can't even say the word, that I have for building. I'll ruin it and everybody would hate me, but I'll make it the coolest, dumbest looking crane you'd ever see. So I think that same way with like RPS truck or a modern car, if somebody were to commission me to build them like a replica of their stock truck, I think I just turn it down because it's maybe just too mild for my taste, and I wouldn't want to leave it that way.
I would say that's probably true.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you have any other vehicles besides those RPS trucks? Like, how many vehicles do you think you have in total? Like of classics, moderns, whatever. So minus the RPS and those the other ones you said.
The
You
boy.
already gave a quantity on those.
Yeah, I probably have 150 semis. Um,
That's a lot of semis, man.
the trucks, not the truck stop hop, but what's the
The trucks and stuff.
yeah, trucks and stuff type.
I don't have none of those.
Yeah, I bought a whole bunch of low boys for a company that was local here that got bought up by, I think Anderson Truck bought them, but um, and then I don't know, I bought somebody was going out of business and I bought a couple lots of like, I don't know, I had like 30 trucks in each of them. So I have, because I wanted to have pickups, heavy service vehicles and then semis. And then I probably have 100 different cars, police cars and just everyday personal passenger vehicles so that when you have a layout, you have the proper mix.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought somebody was selling on, I think, the classified group probably 5 years, 6 years ago, lots, like several lots of probably 100 cars each, probably 4 or 5 different lots. They're all around the same car and all the same color. Like he liked black for some reason, but they were all like the Malibus, the company Malibu that did a lot of the modern
Right.
vehicles like the Thunderbirds and the Firebirds and the BMWs and Mercedes and stuff. And I thought, when I build a module big enough, you're going to need on the roadway the modern cars, or even a parking lot. You're going to need the parking lot to be full of modern cars where they all walked to the car show in the next parking lot to see all the hot rods and stuff. Right. So I bought a whole bunch of those for that one reason. And I still haven't used them because I haven't built those modules yet. But that's the only reason I got modern day passenger vehicles, is for that reason. Yep. Just for the look.
I call them fillers. You need filler.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, they're detailed enough to know for the most part what it is, kind of, and just enough to where you look at it and you look away again and you see something else because you saw that sitting there, it looks correct, and you're done.
Exactly.
Well, that's cool, man. That's cool. Do you I guess you said would you say 14 hours from New York?
Probably.
You so. You should think, since you're on your own, single, and you don't have to worry about your a family leaving back home. You think about going to the Amherst show in Massachusetts. Yeah, I'm 14 hours away from that.
I've given it thoughts a couple times. It seems like I never keep track of when it is, so all of a sudden it's going on. You know what I mean? I need to look at it and find it on the schedule and plan for it.
Right. Well, it's the last weekend of January every year. So you should think about going to that, and display. You should display some stuff like your cars. Like I went there the beginning of this year and I just displayed, and I go there to sell nothing.
Right.
It'd be cool, man.
Yeah, I have to give it some thought, but that's kind of our option.
Yeah, how far do you think you are from St. Louis?
St. Louis, I'm probably, I don't know, what, 10, 12 hours, I suppose.
Dude, you should go to that one too. You go to that the RPM meet in St. Louis. 'Cause I'm 14 hours away from that too. So I'm like right in the middle of both shows. I mean, if you ever have the chance to do it.
Well, and that's just it. Is that, the kids are now graduated, so it's that time where you start finding different things to do, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to this next year's Amherst show because COVID's still for the most part going on, and I don't want to risk it. I don't want to take my family up to a crowded event that, might have the potential. But the RPS meet next year, I'm looking to go to that one. That's I think it's at the last weekend of June. So
Okay.
that would be the middle of the year. Hopefully
That's a little
COVID has
tougher
died
one.
down.
That's a tougher one for me because, in construction, that's
True, it's your peak season.
construction season is so short that.
Yeah. Well, that's a Friday and a Saturday show only. Nothing happens on Sunday unless you decided to make plans with, other fellow modelers or whatever.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, if you could swing it somehow, it's worth going to. It's definitely cool.
Good. Yeah. Definitely open for consideration.
And I'll keep you up to date on that stuff and see if, because I know Joseph Belivens. I had Joseph Belivens is in Texas, kind of by Bob Johnson and Dan Goins, and I don't think I talked him into it, but I told him a lot of information about that show, and he ended up going up there for the first time last year.
Cool.
So you should go, man. We should make plans.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm always open to doing something else, rather than being up here by myself in Minnesota.
Right. So is there anybody up? I can't even talk. Anybody up there around you that's also doing this hobby?
Not a ton. There's a guy that lives probably 30 miles from me that, he's in a couple of the groups I'm in, and we've talked. He's reached out, because he wanted to get a few RPS trucks, but not really, not a ton.
Is there train clubs out there?
Yeah, there is. There's one actually not that far from me, but that's one of those where they build a club layout, and club layout's massive. I mean, they just took an entire basement in an old VFW, and it's very,
neat.
very nice, but everything happens there, and that's not me necessarily going there to build on something. But
I was thinking you could just populate their layout with the vehicles. You could be their vehicle person.
They're building it. I probably will go to the next show because they have a show upstairs, a swap meet kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
And I always walk through the basement, and they were completely torn it apart last year. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not in any model train groups out here in my state or in my city. There's not even one in my city. There's one in the next city, but I'm not part of it. They're train people. I'm not really a train person. I'm a vehicle person. So, and I'm not really
migrated more. I'm like you. I've kind of migrated more to the vehicles. And
yeah, I mean, I couldn't see myself spending $400 or $500 or $600 on a big boy, but I could see spending $150 at the most, like on a vehicle, And even though the vehicle doesn't move, it's not radio controlled or operated, it doesn't run on a track and do special stuff, it has the potential to be cooler than that locomotive that you bought that just looks like every other locomotive on the layout.
Right. Yep. Yeah, no, I'm pretty much the same way. It's just like if tomorrow I sold every locomotive or rolling stock that I have, I don't think I'd miss anything. The truck's not the same.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I always think, like, if I were to ever have something bad happen to my house, like say tornado came through or a hurricane or a flood or something, and my whole entire modeling supplies and everything I owned was wiped out, God, that would bum me out. Not necessarily the electronics, not necessarily the bed I'm sleeping on or my clothes, but those vehicles, my models that I spent my blood, sweat, and tears in,
Yep.
God, that would like really hurt me.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
even my own personal vehicle, just the
yeah.
models.
No,
Because
well,
obviously you're gonna go with your family first. You're gonna save your family, make sure they're okay, and then your animals, and but everything else can be replaced. But some of these models can't be replaced.
no, no, it's like, remember when you shipped me this red slammed pickup and
Yeah,
it came in like 6 pieces?
yeah, I was super
Like I
mad
opened the
about that.
box and I'm like, it was, I wasn't surprised that it was,
Right.
and I'm like, I mean, I didn't even make dinner that night. I started putting that thing right back together. I'm like, I was that bummed out, but
Yeah. Well, that's funny because this almost the same situation. Joseph Belivens came up to Virginia for work, and I was only 3 hours away from where he was at. So he came down to see me one Saturday, and he had printed, I think, a month before, maybe 2 weeks before, the Munsters coach from the Munsters TV show in 187 scale. But it was a really crappy print, and it wasn't his fault. He literally shrunk down something that was way bigger to 187 scale, so it couldn't handle the dimensions of that size. So the kit was very, very thin, very brittle, and it broke a lot of the pieces just moving it from his print station to my house, basically. Um, but I was so happy about that kit, and I knew I could try to do something with it, like try to fix it. I spent the whole next day, like I'm working on my computer at my desk at home, and I'm like, I need to build this car instead. So
yeah,
I'm just building the model like the whole day while I'm on the clock. Um, and I don't have nothing to worry about. Nobody that I work with knows I even do this podcast. Nobody's going to find me considering I don't use my name for this podcast, except for when I'm introducing it.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to find me. I'm not worried about that. Um, but yeah, it's just, I wanted to get that thing done, and I built it within a day. I built it a full day. It took me to fix some of the pieces and modify some other pieces and do what I needed to. Did you ever see that vehicle?
I
If I
think I
could
did.
over,
I'm pretty sure I did. Nope.
I really need to learn how to edit so I can overlay photos on this video. People can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was happy with that because yeah, it was the same thing. I was so excited to get something, and then it broke on the way over here, and I needed to fix it.
Yeah. It happens once in a while. And
How did that silver truck end up though? Did that make it in one piece? I'd hope so. I mean, I didn't glue
yeah,
I didn't glue the camper shell down, so I know that was probably loose.
yeah, no, I mean, this, this mirror fell off. I suppose the probably just pushes back in, but other than that, it came no problem. And
Nice.
most of the stuff does, if you're getting it from another modeler. The red one came, the box was crushed. So I knew
Oh
when I opened
shoot.
it,
That's
I
the
knew,
reason then.
yeah, it, I mean, just the packings that you have it when they crushed it, that probably pulled it. Because
Yeah,
that's glued together. The bed's glued to the back of the cab, so,
right.
and that glue gets pretty brittle, but it was easy to put back together. I had to figure out the rear end, how you had
Yeah.
the
I've
axle.
modified rear ends better than that one since then though. So if you want a future
Yeah, this
custom
one I
RTS
like
truck,
the way this one looks though. This one looks pretty badass. So
yeah, well, it was the very first one. All thanks to you. I wouldn't have been able to build that one, or maybe much other ones, unless you gave me the opportunity to build that one.
yeah, that was one. I think I sent you 2 trucks, and I
Yeah,
think you
that was
built
the
one.
requirement. I customized one you send me, and I keep the other one so I can build it. And
Yeah,
today, that's the same way. I don't care how much I put into that custom truck you're getting. I just want payment for a truck I can build myself.
right. Yep.
And that silver one was one that I built for myself, and then I was like, if you want it bad enough.
Well, you had mentioned something about maybe parting with it, and I was like, I'm
Yeah.
down. Sent you a message right away. I said, no, that's coming to my house.
Well, I
So
think I built uh, I I think I built six total, and I only have two for myself. That black one I told you I use the semi wheels for, and that lowrider one I took the whole roof off. Those are only two I have. The rest of them end up getting sold or something.
Yeah, I
But
think,
I have a lot of parts for them though. Got
yeah,
a lot of spare parts that I don't need. Maybe I'll
yeah.
just ship them to you. I don't really care to make any money off of it. I'll just
Uh,
ship them to you. Not that you need them, but
well, I'll take them, and then they'll probably get divvied out to people building stuff down the road.
I was thinking,
I'm gonna build some more this winter. This winter's gonna be a good time for me. This last winter, I was working on other things, but I'm gonna build
yeah,
some trucks this year. I think get them
right
out.
on. Good. Well, as weird as this sounds, looks like you're getting yawning and I'm getting yawn. I'm starting to yawn. I don't know why, but I yawn in almost all my interviews. So
Yeah. It's
it's one thing
Saturday.
to, yeah, and it's one thing to do it like over video. It's another thing to do it in person. I don't know. And since we're all way too far from each other.
Exactly.
But Lance, um, this was cool, man. It was good
Yeah.
talking to you. It was good
Yeah.
seeing you for like the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had plenty of correspondence, but nothing at any
Yeah,
kind of length or any kind of depth. So
right. And I don't use my actual face on my profile for Facebook, so there's no way unless you saw this video, or if I posted photos of myself
well,
online,
I
you
think
wouldn't know what I look
we're
like.
Facebook friends as well. So I do see some of your personal stuff once in a while. So
It is every once in a while too, because I
yeah,
don't
it's
really
not very
post
often.
anything.
So I don't usually post anything that's got me in it either. But
Right.
whatever. Well, it's
Yeah.
good to spend some time with you, and we'll
Yeah,
talk
man.
soon.
Yeah. So I say this in almost all the podcasts. I'm gonna have like a season two. If whenever I finish this group of people, and I don't know when that is. I'm a suspect around Christmas time. I'll take a break from doing the interviews, and then I'm going to try and start all over with the group of people I already went through,
Well,
so
and
we
here's an
can.
idea to think about too. In season two, maybe you start off the season with having more than one person, have a multi.
Well, I was talking to Mark. God, I'm bad with last names. Mark somebody, and we were talking about Russ Campbell's old rest in peace, Russ Campbell. His old castings. He did these solid castings of classic
Mhm.
cars, and he would offer us up, me and Mark and Lou, up really cheap because they were all solid, so there wasn't much you can do with them. Um, and we built a lot of cars for him in the sense like you give me like same deal with the RPS trucks. You send me two, I'll build you one, and I'll keep the other one and build it for myself. Um, and he passed away. And so we were wondering what happened to all his old models since he passed. And, there's no kind of way to find out really because his Facebook is down or I don't know. Either way. So he thought it would be cool if we did like a tribute episode to Russ and show a lot of his builds. And we'll get Lou and Mark. And I think Ryan Kelly was another one that got a lot of his uh, models too, and he's passed along too. So we're not getting anything from him, but uh, I think that might be the first. But what I'm trying to do is hopefully by the end of this season or sooner, hopefully a lot sooner, I could figure out how to edit, and then maybe uh, next season every video would be like, for the most part, professionally edited. And that'll be the big difference in between just a face to face, and then I can overlay music and overlay video and photos, and I
Sure.
don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, man, if and when this season ends and I get along the whole lineup of people I already did it with, I would love for you to come back and maybe we can talk about more stuff
Yep.
related to the hobby, and maybe you'll have some stuff built, or who knows, whatever. I don't care, as long as we're talking. Talking's better than not talking. So
Exactly.
but
Great,
right
Sam.
on, everybody. If you want to stay on for one more minute, I'll just close out the podcast. And everybody, this has been Lance Holk.
Correct. Yep.
This is the podcast. You all have a good night, and hope you like it. If you do, please like and subscribe, make a comment, leave a comment, whatever. Do whatever you want. Hope you liked it. You all have a good night. See ya.